hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to a new episode of School Food for Thought, the School Nutrition Association podcast. I am here today with Will Conrad from Fulton County Schools and Sarah Grunow from Adams 12 5-Star Schools. Thank you, and welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited to have you here because it is a topic that's popping up everywhere. We're going to talk about the future of this profession, the emerging leaders. You heard, if you're in this industry, I guess in any other industry, what's the workforce going to look like? We hear from a lot of our members at SNA that it's been increasingly harder to hire people and to retain people. And we see a lot of retirements on the horizon. A lot of good people are leaving the field. They have left the field, and we need equally talented people to come in. So I'm super excited to talk to you, Will and Sarah, about your experience in school nutrition, what brought you to the field. And I think throughout our conversation here, the goal is kind of like to find out what's going to take to keep you and people like you in this industry. What's professional development look like? What's the future that you see for school nutrition, and how you're going to contribute to that? What role you're going to play? So thank you for joining me. And if I can, I'll start with you, Will.
Sure. Yeah. So what brought me to school nutrition? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I worked in restaurants all through my 20s. And long story short, I love working with food, but that restaurant lifestyle kind of felt like it caught up with me. Decided to go back to school. At the same time, I was getting into fitness and things like that. So selfishly, I took a nutrition class to learn how to eat better. And I knew I wanted to do something where I was helping people. I just wanted to be of service. And I was like, I can become a dietitian. And then during my dietetic internships, one of my first rotations was at Cobb County Schools in Georgia. It's one of the biggest school districts there. And everybody was super cool and welcoming and just super nice. But what I really loved about it was I was doing something different every day. So I still got to, play around in the kitchen and create recipes. But then I developed lesson plans for kids. And I just thought it was kind of the perfect mix of my two worlds. And then my second rotation, food service management, I was at a smaller district right at the beginning of COVID. And we were actually busing out meals to students. Wow. They had just went home from school. So we I forget the numbers, but it was hundreds of thousands of meals during that summer. And got to ride on a couple of the buses. And we, some of the neighborhoods we went to, it just kind of honestly shook me. I was just like, these kids may not be, the meals that they're eating are probably not nutritional, so, and just the fact that, there were lines, 20, 30, 40 kids just waiting to get their school lunch for the day. And I was like, okay, I think I found my purpose, so.
No, that's great. And the fact that you brought the food and the wellness component, I think it's really exciting. What about you, Sarah? How did you get started?
Yeah, so I'm a dietitian by trade. So I went to, did the classic 4-year degree, started my internship, and school nutrition was one of those rotations that you just, in my head, I just had to do. Mm-hmm. So I was at a school district in Minnesota for 2 weeks, and it was, my thought process going into it was this will be, a fun 2 weeks, but probably not something I'll ever do again. And I've only worked in school districts since. So a funny story, actually, my preceptor is here at the show, and I ran into her after 7 years, and she was pregnant during my internship, and they asked me to cover her maternity leave while she was gone. So they said, can you cover while you study for your exam? I said, this is a great opportunity. I can work, study. And it was the most eye-opening experience, and clearly I haven't left. What kept me it wasn't just food service. It wasn't like a hospital where you're going in and you're either just doing clinicals or you're just making food. It was everything. It was student education. It was going into classrooms. It was taste tests. It was recipe development. It was budgets. And so you really, as a dietitian, school nutrition, you can do anything you want. If finance is your thing, then come and do budgets for us. If student education is your thing, then come and educate students about why fruits and vegetables are the best choice. And really being able to see the different avenues that you can go into in school nutrition is what's kept me interested and here. And I think with dietitians, you think clinicals. So showing that specific avenue, I think, of students is important, that there's way more when it comes to school nutrition.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because about 2 years ago in Orlando at ANC, we launched our campaign. SNA launched this campaign called Bring More to the Table, and it was exactly about that, because there's so much to school nutrition. You just nailed it. You like budgets, you like training, you like marketing, HR, and a lot of people, when they think about school nutrition, they don't see that. Right. They see, a very outdated picture of what this job might have been once.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you bring that, and Will, you mentioned you were interested in wellness and fitness, and that kind of like brought you to school nutrition in a different way.
Yeah, and I knew nothing of school nutrition. I thought like everybody else, and I grew up in the 90s, so like the only nutrition education I remember was like the food pyramid in 5th grade, and never got any information in high school. So, when I started working in restaurants, I knew nothing of how to take care of myself or eat better, and I kind of wanted to be a part of that change to like have more nutrition education opportunities for kids. So hopefully they could avoid some of the mistakes I made,
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, a lot of times when we talk about the men in school nutrition, a lot of their backgrounds is hospitality, is restaurants.
Right.
And then at some point they want something that is more family friendly.
Yeah.
And that's how they find school nutrition. You talked about the experience that you had when you got on that bus and you went to the neighborhoods and you realized what role you're playing in school nutrition. So that was like this watershed moment for you?
Yeah, it really was. Like I said, I just wanted to find a purpose. I'd kind of, I don't know the word, just kind of went through the motions of life up until that point. I kind of wanted just to have some sense of fulfillment. I didn't know one of the reasons I waited so long to go back to school is because I wanted to find my thing, right? And I just never found that. And so, when I saw those kids, and then eventually when I went back for an enrichment rotation and got to do a little more of the office work, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this, you know what I mean? And it just felt right. So that was kind of the moment for me where I decided, And then subsequently things have happened in my current role that have just solidified that,
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Sarah? Did you have one of those moments that you're like, well, this is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah. When I was doing my internship, there was a taste test day, and it was roasted cruciferous vegetables. I'm a dietitian. I was like, well, I'll eat this every day. But I was like, I don't think this is going to go over well. We'll try it with the kids. We'll figure it out. And so my thought process going into the day was like, well, let's just see. And the kitchen staff were the kindest people, and they were open to, one, having me use their ovens for the day and be in there as a student and kind of try something new. So to have that welcoming environment from just the staff from the get-go was awesome. But then also going out to see the kids and the questions they asked. They were like, well, what does this look like before you cut it? What does it taste like? Does the, purple cauliflower taste different from the white cauliflower? And so the questions they asked weren't what I was anticipating, and it really solidified that we can make an impact on kids, and we can have them change eating habits, and we can get them interested in school nutrition and just nutrition in general through our jobs. And one thing I've always said is kids are in school to learn. They shouldn't stop learning when they come into the cafeteria. And we, as school nutrition professionals, need to take that seriously. We need to be teaching them, what are new fruits and vegetables? What is a mango? What does it look like before it's processed and put into your yogurt parfait for the day? And that was really my turning point of, again, we're not just making food. We're here for the kids. We're making a difference. But we can also have fun while we do it and, taste test and do kind of anything fun that's not just a computer desk job.
Yeah, it's creative.
I have something to a very similar story about green beans. So one of our harvests of the month was farm fresh roasted green beans, and I wasn't out in the schools when they were doing it, but our marketing coordinator was, and she said she was taking pictures, and a kid was like, "What is this?" And it was like, never seen a fresh green bean before.
Wow.
All they've ever seen is canned or whatever. And they loved it. And so, like, yeah, that was one of those additional things that had happened to me that I was like, oh, this is awesome, you know? Yeah.
Exposing that. And you mentioned your preceptor that's here and how kind everybody in the kitchen was when you went in as a student. And that's something that we hear a lot about in school nutrition, the warmth and the strength of this community. How has that impacted your career trajectory? What role has it played? Is that something, I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that something you've seen throughout?
Absolutely. I don't think there's a school nutrition professional out there who won't say that they are a part of a family when it comes to school nutrition. And I think that stems from, we're not in competition with each other. I'm not trying to steal your customers. I can call you up and say, hey, I saw this on your menu. Give me the recipe. Give me the lowdown. How did this work? We can also call each other and say, I am really struggling with X, Y, and Z. What can you help me with? And I've never been turned away with a question I've asked for help. And that is empowering, especially as a young leader, to know that you're not in this alone. There are people, generations of people ahead of you who have gone through the same challenges, and they're there for you, and they want you to succeed because their passion of making sure that kids have the best food available, breakfast, lunch, and dinner sometimes, doesn't stop with just them. They want that to go on to the next generation and the next group of leaders and the next group of kids. And so that, to me, has just been, a home away from home when it comes to work. And especially through COVID, we were all together at a tough time. So you naturally just grow bonds in school nutrition of what you're going through, what you're experiencing, what you're struggling with. And so I think relationships that we had prior are just way stronger because of that
everything that you went
experience. Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you, Will? School nutrition traditionally has been a more female-dominated industry.
Right.
It's changing.
Yeah.
It's going to change even more.
Right.
And you transitioned from restaurants to school nutrition. How was that transition for you? What did you find?
As far as, having female leaders and female preceptors, it's just not something that even dawned on me, really, to be perfectly honest. But both of my preceptors during my internships I consider mentors still to this day. And then my first job as a menu specialist, I worked in Douglas County, a mid-sized district, her as well. So, everywhere along the way, they're all three people that I feel like I can call on to this day and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or, as far as whether it's personal career goals or just, the work that I'm doing at Fulton County. So, I've had great opportunities with everybody. Like I said, that was the first thing that I noticed or felt when I went to Cobb County at my first rotation, was just the welcoming environment. Everybody was super nice and just were happy to have me. Yeah.
That's great to hear. It's another thing that we're hearing a lot too. And we talked about it right before we came into the studio, how this sector is going to change in the next 5, 10, 20 years. I think it's going to look completely different. We have a lot of people who are retiring, so they're not going to see, that drastic of a change. Where you guys are going to be around for a while. What are some of the things that excite you and some of the challenges that you think might come up in the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah, it's an exciting time. A lot of our sessions right now are AI-based, and it's awesome to see some of the creative ways people have started using that, and definitely going to be stealing a lot of these ideas. But, yeah, it's an exciting time. Like we were talking earlier before the podcast started just about all the technology with the equipment and everything like that. It's all good things, and I think it's just trying to, as new people come into work, just trying to teach them on how to use the new equipment and teach ourselves, how to take advantage of this technology and the ever-changing world that's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Who knows what we'll be doing in 5, 10 years. Yeah.
I think like 2 years is going to be very different.
Oh,
I know, it's crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's today's generation is things change overnight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
They expect that.
And kids expect us to change overnight. And our customers are kids. Like it or not, our customers are the ones that are on social media using AI and requesting technology of us. And so we as operators have a duty to our kids to give our customers what they're asking for. And that is, not talking to anybody to order when you go through the lunch line. And that's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's how kids, you go to a McDonald's now and you order on a computer.
Yep.
So the challenges, I think, are going to be making sure that we're sticking with industry standards of school nutrition while also matching industry standards of food service in general. And making sure that everybody is supportive along the way and kind of along for the ride. Because it will change overnight. And technology changes so quickly that I think we have a job to have patience with some of the staff who might not be comfortable with changing overnight.
Yeah.
But also recognizing the importance of why are we doing this? What is it going to provide to our kids? And how is that going to bring our programs to the next level?
Yeah, and I think what we see more and more, especially because of social media, is that people, their expectations are much higher than they were before, right? Because I think in the past, it's the same thing here. You come to a ANC, a conference, and the talks. Before, it was you had an expectation for this, and that's what it was, and it wasn't like a theater production or anything. Now, you watch TED Talks at home. So all of a sudden, that's your standard.
Right.
Anything that's not like that, it's not good enough. So those kids are going to restaurants, right? They're exposed to a lot more. They're on TikTok, and they customize their food. I tell you, I go to these places like Chipotle, and I get anxiety because I can't order the menu, and I'm like, I'm not quick enough. And my 9-year-old's like, no, Mom, I'll take it from here. She wants da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Right.
But that's what they like. And, don't do this, don't do that. I'm like, I just want the basic stuff that you have. But that's the kind of customer that you have at your schools.
You can go to pizza places now, and it's build your own pizza.
Yes.
10 minutes.
It's Cava. It's build your own Mediterranean bowl, Chipotle. And so how do we take our operations and give kids what they're purchasing outside of the cafeteria? But also with social media, it's instant.
Yes.
So not only are our successes out there instantly, so are when we misstep.
Right.
And so it's having that customer-focused lens at all times, because every kid has a cell phone, every kid has social media, and it is over. It's not even overnight. It's within 30 seconds of, putting out a orange that maybe didn't have to go out, but, you were cleaning 350 oranges, so that one got in there. Well, that one orange is the one that's
the one that made it.
That's on TikTok now. Yeah.
That's the one that made it.
So that will be a challenge in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about getting people like you to stay motivated and hopefully bring others. As we're here at ANC, we see all this commotion. We go through the classes, and a lot of it's AI, a lot of it's leadership. What do you think it would take for this for this industry to better support new leaders like yourselves and to bring more leaders into this profession?
I think the cross-training at a bigger district, I think cross-training is super important, and just having avenues to learn about the finance and to learn, so I do special diets and menus at my school, and I love my job, but sometimes you get siloed in that, and you're just kind of, pigeonholed. For better or worse, I feel like I'm grown a lot in my position, but, I also want to learn some of the different aspects, so just opportunities for cross-training and career development, but that same thing goes for our staff as well. We have a lot of schools, too, who, their key people are kind of stuck in their school where they could be running their own school and just, it's the challenge we're facing with the labor market right now. It's like, yes, they could run their own school, but then who takes over that production chef role at that school? So just opportunities for growth, and I think that falls on us in administration, too, just to come up with better ways of training and retention. But I think that's a huge piece of it. The more training we can provide, the better retention we'll have,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So people can see a path forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's two, school nutrition's interesting because you have two avenues of staff. You have your site-based staff who are, going to work every single day. They're on site, and there never is an opportunity for remote work opportunities. But then you also have your office-based staff who do maybe have a little bit more flexibility that you can provide them. And so I think my answer differs based on who, we're talking about. So I think if you have office-based staff, recognizing that Gen Z and millennials are looking for that work-life balance, that flexibility that you can provide. If they're sitting at their desk 8 hours a day, I can guarantee what's going through their head is, well, I can be sitting at my desk in my house, and be way more comfortable and have my dog sitting right underneath me. And so being a leader at your district is recognizing that, the younger generation is not one to shy away from job hopping. So they if there's something they don't like in their job, they're probably looking for another job. There's not a lot of that, like, oh, I've been here for 6 or 7 years, I need to stay. That is not a thought that's with younger generations. So knowing that as a leader, that those admin-based staff are probably looking for some of those avenues. So opening those conversations of what's possible, but balancing that with, you're still a department that has site-based staff.
Yes.
So
how do you address that?
Exactly. And how is the quote-unquote fairness of, well, they get to work from home, but my job isn't possible to work from home. And so it's being creative with what flexibilities it does look like at the site-based staff. Are your production records online? And is that something that, you can provide a half an hour of flexibility for those staff? Or are they looking for just more flexibility in menu decision-making or, whatever you can do on site to get, I think, that flexibility for all generations to be a part of their job is huge. I also think just creativity in general is, you have younger generations coming in, and going back to social media, creativity is everywhere. Mm-hmm. No matter what you're opening on your phone, it's something, whether it was, a TikTok dance that was created or the newest marketing campaign. There's thoughts and just inputs constantly going through our minds these days. And so recognizing that and being like, what did you guys see? What do you want to see on the line? What innovations do you have? And going back to the ANC is really, putting pressure on our partners to see that innovation and to push us in that right direction of like, no, you can have a touch or like a, face recognition software or something, or, a tray recognition software for the point of sale. Like, we can use technology to make your lives easier. And that, I think, is what will continue to get the younger generation staying or interested in us, is if we continue to push that envelope. Hopefully they will be the next ones pushing right back at us.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's very important because you have the issue, and hospitals have the issue, and factories have the issue. You have the office-based staff, but you have the production staff, and how, because sometimes like it's not fair. Like, he gets to work from home, she doesn't.
That's a big challenge.
But how do you, is that, is the money that they get a bigger bonus or something, right?
Yeah.
So you there's got to be this perception of fairness.
Right.
Because otherwise, nobody wants to do the client-facing jobs anymore.
Yeah.
I think some of it is how you frame it as well, too. I mean,
Absolutely.
Managers and food service staff, yes, they have to be in the school the 182 days, but not in the summers, right? So, like, whether it's admin staff works from home during the summer, just some of that flexibility piece, just coming up with creative ways to help, whether it's not every day, but maybe one day a week type situation. I love that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially during COVID, they sent all of us home, and they were like, well, you can't be in the office, but I still have 150 staff coming to work every day for meal distribution.
Right.
So how am I going to sit at home while all of my staff are out on the front lines? And that thought process has continued even post-pandemic. But I think it's also a really great lens for us as leaders to recognize is that, there are things that we will have to work through in terms of we are site-based staff, we have site-based staff.
Right.
And when you have a, Gen Z or a millennial coming in, especially if they had a job that had flexibility before, having the conversation of expectations, but then asking them, so what are you looking for?
Up front, right?
Yes. Yeah. What could I do to help you stay? What are you looking for? And not everybody wants to work from home. I know I go crazy if I work from home, mostly because my husband works 100% from home. So it's that balance, and I think you just have to have those conversations with...
Yeah, especially with the younger generations. I think what I hear a lot is that they want a balance, because there's plenty of studies saying that the mentorship, right, the collegial environment, that is much harder to duplicate when you're home. I mean, right. If you worked in an office the good part of your career, that's one thing, but you coming in, these kids were, when they finished college, at home, and they go to an office, so it's very hard for them, and a lot of them are craving that. I 100% agree with you. Maybe not 100% 5 days a week, but, telling them to be there twice a week, 3 days a week, that will give them the social interaction and, the on-the-job training that you need. Yeah. How do you behave? How do you dress? Because those are codes that you have to be exposed to.
And we bring on a lot of dietetic interns, and typically the program, that's the first thing that they have us address is, what do you wear? What time do you show up? What time do you leave? Because a lot of these students just don't have that experience yet. And that's nothing against them in terms of, professional dress or, office behavior. They haven't been exposed to it. And so it's our job as preceptors, but also just leaders, to guide them in the right direction and make sure that they feel comfortable coming to work, they feel comfortable with what they're wearing, but so does the entire office environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We've had some issues with some of our dietetic interns not with wearing the business casual attire, and like you said, it's just they just don't know. They've been online college the last 6 years. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting challenges, but I am also excited about all the innovations that we're going to get to see over the next few years. Some of them are here at ANC and at the exhibit hall and in the sessions. So I'm really happy that I got to meet you too, that I got to hear your stories. And it gives me hope and excitement to know that leaders like you are going to be in school nutrition, and they're going to make sure that our kids get fed and help elevate the profession. Because I think, what you guys do is, it's God's work. Not to be religious or anything, but it's really important, and it comes from the heart. So you need leaders who are authentic, who are committed, and it's great to see you here. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And thank you all, our audience here at ANC, for joining us for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.